to communicate with you on topics that are of interest to you. So this first town hall is on bullying, but we're open to other topics for future town halls of topics that you would be interested in us covering, so that we are here to listen to you and to share information with you. So I just saw Dr. Fields. We also have Stephanie Faulkner from our board, and Deborah Eaton from our board, and Jose Macias is here briefly from our board, and we have several cabinet members here as well, and we want to welcome all of you and thank you for being here. So what we're going to do first is have the district present the basic policy that we have in place on bullying, the definition, and the way we approach it right now. Then we're going to have open mic, so that we will carry the mic around to you so that you can ask questions or share concerns, share ideas. So it will basically then be your meeting. So with that, we'll start with Ms. Garcia, who is the Executive Director of Student and Family Support Services. Thank you so much. Does everyone have the handouts? Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here this evening. We did have PowerPoints out in the front, so hopefully everybody received a handout. Our clicker is not working this evening, so I'm going to talk from behind here and click and keep us moving. I also had some handouts out there that a one-page document, so if you did not receive that, you can pick that up, or somebody from our staff can hand that to you, and a David's Law handout, and a bullying checklist. And once again, I'm Monica Garcia, the Executive Director of Student Family Support Services, and I'm going to ask Ashley Smith to come up here because it is not moving. The PowerPoint. Where does she head off to? She said it would work. Unless we're going to have to click each slide like this. No, it's frozen. There we go. Okay. So I think I'm going to have to click each little slide like this. So tonight, we have a brief presentation, as Ms. Stanford stated, just to go over basics and what we do in the school district. We're just going to quickly cover what is bullying, what is conflict, our process and procedures in Judson ISD, training, prevention, and mediation, and mental health supports that we have in the district. First thing is, you can switch it to what is bullying. And I'm going to go ahead and just read the simplified definition. Bullying now includes a single significant act or pattern of acts by one or more students against another student that exploits an imbalance of power and involves engaging in expression, written, verbal, or electronic or physical conduct. So I want you to hold on to that key word for bullying. There's an imbalance of power when we're talking about bullying. The next thing we have is what is conflict. So if you look at your PowerPoint, a conflict is generally a disagreement or a difference that happens when people want or have a different opinion on things. The people involved in conflict have an equal power to solve the problem. They are not purposely trying to hurt each other. So whenever there's a conflict, we have equal power within our students. I have a side-by-side that I just put what the difference is between conflict versus bullying. And like I said, this is just for your reference later on because the keywords are the people involved have equal power for conflict and the imbalance of power when we're identifying if there's suspected bullying in JSD. You can go to the next one. And conflict is a normal part of life. That's what we want our students to understand, that they're learning how to deal, and it helps kids master social skills that they will need as an adult. So when we had COVID happening, we had everybody at home, kids lost those social skills. So being able to come back to school, we noticed a lot of conflict when we're getting back because it's a normal part of life and it helps students develop social skills. But bullying is not normal, right? Even through many people do believe that it is, but it is not a rite of passage, and it's not for kids. It's not right for kids as they grow up. So there's a big difference. So we have to always work hard in Judson ISD to determine conflict versus bullying. So process and procedures. So I want to make sure that parents leave today and the audience leaves today understanding that we follow strict process in Judson ISD. We have a process on how to determine if it's conflict versus bullying, and if we suspect bullying, there's a process that we follow that's called 6 steps analysis. So administrators have to fill out a whole packet and go through the 6 steps analysis in order to determine if bullying has occurred. So we use a 6-step analysis, and the 6 steps analysis has letters and information that we send home to parents if we do find that bullying has occurred, for the perpetrator, for the bully, and also for the victim. So we have that process. One thing that I want everyone to understand is that parent notification is important. So if a parent or someone reports a conflict or bullying, and then we determine that it is bullying, we do have to use that 6 steps analysis, and we have timelines and requirements to notify parents. So the law requires for school to notify the parent of an alleged victim of bullying within 3 business days after the report. So we have a quick turnaround time. We notify parents by certified letter, and we also give them a letter in person. So if you reported bullying and we determine that it has been founded, then you should receive a certified letter. The school must notify the parent of the alleged bully within a reasonable amount of time. Sometimes we cannot determine bullying quickly, and we have a lot of investigating to do. So when we have to notify the alleged bully, or we have some time frame. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than the 3 days. But for the actual victim, parent notification, we should give it out within 3 days. So David's Law is important. The handout that you picked up, we're not going to go through every detail this evening, but I do want to share that David's Law does help with cyberbullying, so it enacts different practices for us to be able to recognize cyberbullying and be able to handle it within a school setting. So that's the main key component with David's Law, that it really helped schools address cyberbullying. The bullying checklist is something that we use in the school district as well too. This is great for parents and for faculty and for anyone that has reported bullying. You always want to use the bullying checklist to identify bullying did occur. Within a school setting, I know that a lot of parents come to us and tell us their child's being bullied, but we also determine that it's conflict, not bullying. But the most important thing is up here where it's listed, was it a single significant act? Was it a pattern of acts? And was it directed with one or more students? And did it exploit an imbalance of power? So if there's no imbalance of power, then we cannot determine that it's bullying, according to the state checklist and according to our process and procedure. Training, prevention, and mediation and mental health support in our school district. We work very hard to be preventative. We have what's called Stop It. It's an anonymous reporting tool that students can report bullying and parents can report bullying, staff members, anybody that would like to report. We have a tool. We monitor every Stop It report that comes in. It goes to the campus level principal, and it also gets to district staff so that we can ensure that we follow through and we check up on our students immediately. There's other tools that are provided by Judson ISD to be able to address students' voice. We have Class Catalyst. It's a daily check-in tool so that we can check in with our students daily to see how they're feeling, if they're having a good day or a bad day, if somebody has been having conflict with another student, or if they think somebody is possibly bullying them. They can write comments in their check-in, and teachers can do that, and it also gets reported to the counselors. So we monitor our students daily by using Class Catalyst. We also have what's called gaggle alerts. This keeps us very busy in the district. Gaggle alerts are picking up any student writings in their emails, any of their Google Docs, anything with any district device. So they're writing that somebody's harming them or they're going to harm themselves. Any keywords that have to do with mental health or safe and supportive schools, our gaggle alerts are being picked up daily, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we also, like we said, we have Stop It, and we have many counselor resources for students to report bullying. At the elementary level, they use bullying boxes. They also, at the high school level, have QR codes that students can walk around and scan a code if there's a need to report possibly bullying. Other services that are provided by the professional school counselor and the social worker are recognition of early warning signs of violence, prevention intervention services, crisis response, communication skills. We go in and we teach lessons for conflict resolution skills and decision-making skills. The other thing that we work on is we try to develop a culture of competence with our students, acceptance of differences, intervention strategies for bullying and harassment. We encourage community involvement, parent and guardian, faculty, staff, education. At the end of the presentation, there'll be a link and you can go to our Student and Family Support Service website, and we have all of our protocol, what we do for students, staff, and for children, to be able, for our students, staff, and for our faculty, with all the education and training for bullying prevention. The other items that we provide in Judson ISD is bullying curriculum. We use Second Step for pre-K to 8, and we have a second Step bullying prevention unit that our counselors teach throughout the year. And at the secondary level, we use 7 Mindsets, which is a social emotional learning curriculum that also has bullying components in there to teach positive behavior. And we use pacer.org National Bullying Prevention Center that is research-based to be able to teach skills for bullying prevention. I have other several things, watchdogs and guidance lessons addressing any conflicts on the campus. So quick and short presentation. This is a QR code. You also have that one-page document that we provided right here that will take you to many resources on the Judson ISD webpage, the Stop It link, the bullying checklist if you need a copy later on, and David's Law. We really work hard to keep our students safe, and we have very strict procedures, and we just wanted to share a short synopsis of what we do in Judson ISD this evening. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Stanford.
We're going to have a couple mics. Stephanie will have one too. So I thought I'd check and see if you have any questions of your own. I have some, but I thought I'd put it out there. Hi, just saw someone that got here. So good to see you here. So just looking right now for questions that you might have. If anyone has a question on any of this material that was presented, or on experiences that you've had. So then I will ask my question, and that is, Monica, could you define this imbalance of power? How do you determine, what are the factors in establishing power and imbalance of power?
Thank you. Imbalance of power is where it is very tricky. It's very subjective. So we have, within our toolkit, it really helps administrators figure that out. If it's an emotional state, if it's a physical state, imbalance in power can be presented in many different ways. So I'm just going to give you an example of an older, bigger student picking on someone on the bus that feels intimidated by the person on the bus. And it could be size. I'm just using a basic one about size and age. So that would be an imbalance of power of a student that is larger and older, picking and harassing a student on the bus, and the student who feels intimidated and does not feel that they're responsible for any of that interaction, and they feel fearful, and they're fearful to come to school because of that imbalance of power. And that's just a simple example, but it is very subjective. So there's a lot of work that goes into it when we're trying to determine if it's a bullying situation. And the state does provide, like I said, resources, but we try to provide extra resources, and the campus staff, when they are having trouble to determine if it's an imbalance of power, they do call district staff to come over and give us all the description of the event and what happened so that we can help determine that.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
I'm sorry I was late, but did you guys discuss already about like the discipline? Because it looks like it's number one.
No, that's a choice. So at the end, Ms. Stanford, do you want to talk about this?
Oh, well, you have two forms here. This form right here is one you can fill out physically, the old-fashioned way with a pen. And it's just where you can indicate other topics you might be interested in for town halls. Right, but this form that you might also have, or should have, has a QR code on it, and you can use this to ask a question tonight if you don't feel like asking it through the mic, it will go to Monica and she, or Kim, and they can ask the question for you. So that's another way to ask a question.
So if you don't feel comfortable being on the mic, scan the QR code, type your question in, and we'll get it
We'll get it
anonymously.
here and answer it here tonight. But did you have a question or
Yes,
comment
I-
of your own?
Yes, there's like, what are the steps of like the step by step, like maybe you can enlighten me, step by step on what the school or Judson, when it comes to like discipline, when, if bullying really occurs and the student, we like teachers and staff already know that it's really the student, like what are the steps? Like action,
You mean, once we
like
determine it's
yes,
bullying,
yes,
what do we do about it?
yes, that's the thing that I wanna know, because, there's like a lot of, cause I asked some parents, personally, I do have experience with my kids when they were elementary. Now that they're middle school and, high school, when they see it, they report it, cause it's a good thing, there's like text, like direct text messages to counselors. I didn't know that. Oh, sorry. I didn't know that. I just found out that there's a way now like that. So to prevent, I guess for like the student to be bullied as well, because, the tattletale or something, because it's also a target for the bullies, whoever, yeah, for that. So I just want to know, like, because on my experience with the elementary side, there's already like an action with the counselors and everything, and it did work when it comes to my kids. But I just wanna know when it comes to like the bigger kids, especially, middle school and high school, where a lot of kids happens, a lot of like bullies and stuff. So I just wanna know like what are the actions?
How old were your kids when they when they experienced that in elementary?
When in elementary, well, they were first grade, second grade?
Really?
Yes. Well, it's not like, the biting, the slapping, the stuff that, with my youngest one though, it's more like verbally. But when they try to like, but she's really hairy. And when it comes to like, that's when I took action when they were pulling her hair. So that's physical already, it really hurts her. So, cause my daughter is really like quiet and shy. She doesn't really talk much. But as a mom, you already have an instinct that there's something wrong. Cause every time I pick her up, she's not that happy anymore. So I know there's something wrong. But it's a great thing. That's why I'm so thankful with Miss Duhart on Escondido. She's the counselor there. She worked with my daughter through the years until her 5th grade, because she has like some issues as well. But there's like actions already that's happening on the elementary side. But I just want to know when it comes to like
The older?
the older ones.
Okay, and was it classed as bullying, by the way, for your first and second grade? Was it?
Yes.
It was?
Yes,
Okay.
and then, cause first it was in masters, and then on Escondido, they both got transferred, they left the school, they got transferred, so that's what happened after.
That was the remedy?
I think, but, when I was told that it was a personal choice of the parent, but it's not only my daughter or my son that, has been bullied, but other kids as well. Like, there's a lot of like reports with this kid, so that was the action, and they told me that it was a personal choice of the parent to move their kid. But now that I just wanna know, like, if this kid has like a lot of like, reports already, like here in middle school or high school, what actions does the school or district, I just wanna know.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're wanting to know how we proceed with bullying experiences from past elementary school. What do we do in the middle school?
She
No?
wants to know the consequences.
Yeah, the
Are they
consequences.
different?
It's like,
At secondary?
No.
Okay.
I can, just briefly, can everybody hear me here, am I okay? So, that's the first question that the parent always asks, what are the consequences for the other students? Because the FERPA and the Family Act, we can't share discipline measures that we take with the other students, but they are all outlined in our student code of conduct in our handbook. So we always wanna start off with the lowest level. If you could possibly mediate, we try mediation. That is not always gonna work in a bullying situation, but the state does allow us to do that and have counselors as the mediator, right? To be able to, we want kids to get along, so we wanna try to remedy the situation. And then after that, if we go to the next level, it's usually a stay away agreement, which is part of our 6 steps analysis. We try to keep the students away on the campus level so that they don't interact, which is already escalated to another level. Then if it continues, then it goes into, and if it's more serious or something else happened, there's other layers of seriousness, they could be disciplined by either being suspended or they could have an alternative hearing depending on the level of bullying that takes place.
Do you mind
So
if I
there's
pop in
extreme
right here?
levels, yes.
I'm gonna grab, yeah, thanks. Kristen Saunders, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary. There's a couple of things I wanna clarify really quickly. We wanna be really cautious about the language that we're using. Ms. Garcia talked about it a little bit earlier, but there's a clear difference between conflict and bullying. And as a society in general, even as parents who want to protect our children, we're very quick to automatically label things as bullying. And we want to be very careful about that, because then what we've done is we've removed the opportunity for us to have conversations with children about conflict resolution. That's really one of those skills that we want to be promoting well into adulthood, is that conflict resolution piece. But when we automatically jump to, oh my gosh, you're having a problem, they're giving you an ugly look in the cafeteria, you're being bullied, we want to be really careful about that, because the sooner we can intervene in that situation and allow students the opportunity to build upon and learn those conflict resolution skills, sometimes inhibit some of those things that we see in later life. So I just wanted to chime in and say, it's not cut and dry. Like when we talk about consequences, when we talk about discipline, it's not cut and dry either. The very first step is for us as the adults in the situation to determine, is this conflict? Is this bullying? And then the other side of that, as a mom, is that's a really slippery slope too, because we want our children to be able to come to us and tell us things that are going on in their life, on campus. We want to make sure that we create a space where we listen to what they're saying, but we don't automatically want to just jump to, this is a bullying situation. Do we need to listen to it as parents? Absolutely. Do we need to bring it to the school's attention as parents? Absolutely. Do we need to continue that dialogue with our children? 100%. But we want to give this an opportunity to be handled at the lowest level possible. Yes.
Did that answer your question? Okay. So how are your kids doing now?
Oh, they're doing great. Yeah.
Very good to hear. And I think we had,
I'm good.
okay.
Piggyback off your example about the weight and stuff and being picked on a bus. Michael is a bit chunkier. Oh, shoot, I can't.
Are you sure? Okay. I'll hold it.
I don't want to. He had a friend who's about the same size as him, except they both have how do I say this kindly? A developmental delay. And yes, kids are gonna be kids. But when teachers start to mimic kids,
Start to what?
in other words, kids are supposed to be kids.
Yeah.
But when adults act like kids in their behavior and words, how do you tell your child it's not his fault or that other child's fault for how they are and bring their self-esteem up? And it's carried on to now. And the mental health issues and stuff like that carries on to middle school. And especially when and then we end up with behavior issues. And we end up going to get behavioral help so he could be in school. And then behavioral says, oh, you can't use those tools. So now he's afraid to ask for help. So how do we address the elementary issues which cause that I'm afraid to be in school.
Okay, so we do have curriculum that starts as early as pre-K 4. Thank you. We do have curriculum that starts as early as pre-K 4. I think it goes back to what we were saying just a few minutes ago. The key is open communication between you and the campus. Like, to continue that dialogue about, hey, here's my concern. Now my concern looks like this. Now I still have this concern. How can we address it? It's that idea about working together as a partnership. Because you're right, the last thing we want to do is to make a child feel like it's their fault because they're bringing it to someone's attention. So I think it's that continuous open dialogue. And I just want to remind you guys that you do have a QR code on here. So if there is something specific that has to do with your child specifically or a campus specifically, that would be the place for us to house this. The last thing we want to do is to create a space where we're putting students' personal information out. So if there is a concern you have specifically, by all means, feel free to use the QR code.
And please don't use your children's names or any kids' names. Please make it hypothetical.
Did that answer your question?
What do you do when it's not just one kid? It's everybody harassing your child because there's a difference.
What do you do then? She just went through cancer for a year to come back to school to cry every day and not want to go because people are making fun of her because the way she looks or the way she walks. What do you do then? And all the school says is, we'll look at video footage. We'll look at video footage. What happens then?
As a parent of a child with special needs, so I completely get where you're coming from and I feel your pain. I will tell you that one of the things that I had to get over, and Mary Duhartog, Deputy Sue, one of the things I had to get over was the fact that I needed to be very open with the campus and come in and sit down and talk about, this is the things that we're doing. I understand.
I've talked to them.
You talked to the campus.
Accommodations for cushions because she has a tumor in her spine.
Right.
And you know what the school told me? That it was an inconvenience for them to get a chair for every room for her that was back support. That they would have to put one in each classroom for her, and she carried pillows to sit on in each classroom.
I need to talk to you, me and you.
Yeah.
Because you got it, okay? Because there are certain things that we can't do. I will tell you that. Yes, ma'am.
I really walked in right on time. Kind of understand what the lady over there said. I'm going through a situation right now where I have custody of 6 of my grandkids. I'll start off by saying I had a 15-year-old son that was bullied by his so-called best friend because my son was chosen to play on the varsity basketball team. The other young man bullied him into telling him that he better not take the spot, and if he did, he was going to kill him. Well, my son felt like, oh, we're friends. He's not going to do that. That Friday after school, he shot my son through the head and blew his head off, and it took 2 months for the crime scene to pick up pieces of my son's face from my front yard. Okay, so I was dealing with that. Now I have a granddaughter that's in Judson ISD. She was in a fight on Monday of this week. The 3 girls that were bullying her, I call it bullying because one of the 3 girls kept telling her that I don't want you to be the other girl's friends. And if you do, we're gonna whatever. But the same thing, my granddaughter felt like, oh, Nana, she used to be my best friend since we were in the 3rd grade. She's just talking. Well, Monday at school, the 3 girls confronted my granddaughter after school. My granddaughter was kind of fed up with it. So she did turn around and stand to them and told them, okay, if y'all gonna do something, then do it. And I would have preferred for her to have done that than to have went home and committed suicide. Because a lot of kids will go home and commit suicide instead of facing their bullies. So she did, she faced the bullies. Then she thought about it for a quick second and said, you know what? I'm not gonna do this. She turned around to pick up her backpack, and one of the girls pulled her from her hair, started jumping on her, and the fight began. Now, my granddaughter has been expelled from school for 3 days because of this, because the school has said their video shows different. Now, the video is all over social media. Before I even got to tell my granddaughter that's in high school, she was already calling us at the middle school, wondering what happened to her sister. So I have the video from 3 angles. I've already spoken to Converse authorities, and they're seeing what I'm seeing. But for some reason, Judson Independent School District, Judson Middle School, is saying no, that she didn't turn around and walk away, and so forth. So now, not only has she been expelled for 3 days, I just got a call yesterday morning from the school police people or whatever, and they're saying the state picked up the case and now she's being charged with obstruction of something. So I'm confused. I'm really confused. And the video shows it all. So I don't know what to do in my situation. I can't afford to, everybody's like, get an attorney, get an attorney. I can't afford to get an attorney. All I want is for the school to recognize what this video shows.
Did you talk to the principal?
I have spoken to the principal, I've spoken to the assistant principal, I've spoken to people over at the district, which she's present and she's heard my story. I've tried to contact, I don't know if this is the gentleman, but Dr. Phillips.
Yes, ma'am.
I've tried to contact this gentleman, and I've just pushed up against the wall. You know, my granddaughter, she said, and I asked her, I said, well, why did you even turn around the first time? She said, because Dada, I could see from my peripheral vision that they were taking off their jackets and their backpack, and she thought, oh my God. And she was in the corridor, so she said before she could even think about maybe trying to run, she was like, okay, I'm gonna have to face them this time. You know, and I have a nonprofit, I was sharing with the lady over there, I have a nonprofit where I work with kids every single day. I work with kids that come from families that, and houses a lot of us don't even want to go to. But I work with those kind of kids. And just some months ago, one of the kids, same scenario, was getting bullied by some other girls because she was talking to some other students. And she didn't want to face her bully, so she went home and cut her wrist and her throat. So if I had to choose which one I wanted my granddaughter to do, I'm glad she faced her bullies. But I didn't want it to get to this point where she's getting charges by the state. She's got expelled from school. She's nervous now because she wanted to be in pre-athletics, never been in a fight. And just had a meeting at the school, 2 months ago, where they were saying how good of a student she is, she's friendly, she likes all the kids. And then just because she did not want to do what this young lady was telling her she had to do, which was not talk to nobody but her, now I feel like she's been held responsible, and I don't think it's fair.
So, obviously this is an issue.
It is.
We recognize that. That's why we came together to have this forum. What I want to encourage everyone, because I'm sure everyone has a personal story just like this, please use the QR code. Please see any of the ladies at this table, share your information, and let's get it handled moving forward, starting right now, drawing a line in the sand, okay? Use the QR code, put your concerns, your questions, and then stop by and share information so that tomorrow you have a start to some resolution, okay? In an effort to, I know this is a town hall, and I'm sure all have moments and situations where we want to vent, but we also do want to give the opportunity, since we have the talent in the room, to answer any questions that you may have outside of personal stories, because really personal stories, I think, this is just my personal opinion, would be best shared in the QR code and then meeting at this table after the meeting to get some resolution moving forward, okay? So does anyone have any general questions or any, anything that we can address with this great talent pool here at this time?
Yeah, what is currently the safety policy for intervening if you do see bullying?
Okay, so what is the current policy for intervening if you do see bullying?
I believe he's mentioned like a bystander, somebody that sees
Yes.
something, we train over and over, the bystanders should report it. And we have a reporting protocol, like you said, to a counselor, an administrator, and a teacher, and then it starts our bullying protocol. But if you're a bystander, and it's not tattling, it's not like, we don't want kids to get in trouble. We always are respectful of the students that are reporting it for their safety, but we want bystanders to report it so that we can come together and put a stop to the situations that are happening. Because there's many things that go on throughout the day with teenagers and young adults. And so the best way to get that information is from the students telling us. We work hard to keep our students safe every day, and I was hoping that today maybe we would get some solutions or things that you think that we can move forward with and we can be helpful in the future.
Reporting versus intervention?
Intervention, we work on constantly from pre-K all the way up.
Same with if an adult witnesses and bullying is going on, and that adult says stop it, knock it off.
Well, if it's an adult, we don't want any adults that are not employees to address the situation. We'd say get somebody immediately, because another adult that addresses the situation, we want them to stop it, but we want to be very careful to get involved, because it may turn differently, because if you're trying to stop another student, or a parent might get upset, there may be charges. We have to be very careful. But we do want you to locate somebody immediately that's an employee you can be kind and say, please stop what we're acknowledging, and get somebody to help you immediately. But we don't want, so fights are different, bullying are different, but we don't encourage other adults that are not related to that child to try to stop something that they're visibly seeing, because there could be other consequences. So we can get somebody close by. If you notice something, turn it in immediately to somebody from the school district. If it's a campus, the principal is the main contact.
Okay, I have a question here.
Hello, my name is Argenis Santa Maria. I'm the parent here at Judson ISD. I have a two-piece question. The first one is around the subjectivity with the bullying checklist. I just want to know, again, since the professionals are here, how consistent training is around this subjectivity or objectivity as we aim to seek, because again, people of color do tend to be on the negative side of the history when it comes to subjectivity. So that's one piece. The second piece is the effectiveness of these programs. Being that we're in a town hall today, I was just curious on the effectiveness of these programs that you guys have offered, and if you guys have any data that you can share without having to put any detail out there with individual students. So again, just wanted to see the effectiveness around the tactics that you guys have employed.
So I'm gonna try to remember your questions, you might need to help me. The first one was about training and subjectivity in regards to how to approach that situation, is that correct?
Right here, so you guys have a bullying checklist, you
Correct.
guys have trained professionals to make sure you guys fill that out. And so to determine that subjectivity isn't
Absolutely.
the issue here, again, how often are these professionals being trained or retrained? That was the first piece. And then the second piece is the effectiveness for the whole program itself.
So I'll address the training piece for just a moment. And Dr. Johnson, I want you to help me if I get any pieces wrong, or any other members of the cabinet. So training is ongoing, and it happens at multi-levels. It starts with campus administrators are trained about recognizing signs, going through the protocol, following up with the protocol, and then of course the legal components that are attached to reporting not only to the superintendent, but as well as the school board and as well as the state of Texas. So there's that component as far as going through the process and then reporting. Teachers are also trained as well. Their training looks a little bit different. They're not necessarily going to be trained on going through the 6-step program or protocol, but they are trained on recognizing signs in the classroom and intervening as quickly as possible. And then, of course, all of our support staff, our counselors, are all trained on assisting with that 6-step protocol, so that no one individual is having to go through the 6-step protocol on their own. So that we have multiple sources looking at the situation from various lenses to make sure that that subjectivity piece is in place. Dr. Johnson is our Equity Diversity Officer. She does a lot of training with campus staff as well as campus leaders about looking through that lens of not only marginalized, but as well as students of color, because there's a lens attached to that as well, right? We have conversations about carrying flags for specific communities, and that piece comes into play. And you have to have conversations about whether that makes someone a target or whether it makes them sensitive to the issue. It's a very fluid conversation. I will tell you this, there is no one form that is going to be able to capture all of the raw emotions that are involved when a student is feeling a certain way about being targeted. The more players you can have around the table that know this kid intimately and from many different levels, the better opportunity you're going to have to make the right decision. Did that help?
Yeah,